Hello, everyone. This is Miss Sharon. Welcome back to the Coastal Area Public Library and our book series with Black History Month for February. Last week, I showed you some of the picture books that are in our children's collection here for your enjoyment. And today, I'm going to share with you some nonfiction children's books. And nonfiction, that typically refers to books that are about facts and real events and real people. So let's begin. For our first book today, I chose Can I Touch Your Hair? Poems of Race, Mistakes, and Friendship. The book is written by Irene Lapham and Charles Waters, and the illustrators are Sean Qualls and Selena Alcove. This is a book of poetry, and poetry is a type of literature where words are written to follow specific patterns, structures, rhymes, and or rhythms to express ideas and emotions. This book has poems in the voice of two different characters, Irene, who is a white girl, and Charles, who is a black boy. And in their elementary school, they have been paired to work on a poetry project together. This is a unique book in that it uses poetry to make you think about what makes you unique. How are you different from other people? And how are we actually the same? Do we have similar things that we like, such as books, maybe cartoons? And this is just so wonderful because it starts with little kids, that this is a conversation that you can have starting now and even as you grow older. The second book I would like to share with you is called Swish Slam Dunkin' Alley-Oopin' High-Flying Harlem Globetrotters, written by Suzanne Slade and illustrated by Don Tate. This is a book about a basketball team, the Harlem Globetrotters, which was formed in the 1920s and was considered a traveling team who went around the country to play other local teams, often who were all white, because at this time, black players were not permitted to play on professional teams. However, they were very talented and could do ball handling tricks like spinning a ball on one finger, that they actually changed the history of basketball. This is a book that celebrates black sports, and it tells how this team twice played the best professional team at the time, the Minnesota Lakers, and beat them twice. And that, as a result, had the NBA start drafting black players into their league. And the Globetrotters were considered ambassadors for the country as they traveled across the world playing. And because of them, we have famous basketball players today, like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, who otherwise would not have been able to become such wonderful players. The third book I'd like to share with you today is called Opening the Road, Victor Hugo Green and his Green Book, written by Kyla B. Dawson and illustrated by Aliana Harris. Mr. Green was a mail carrier in New York in the 1930s, and at that time, African Americans could not go into every establishment or travel everywhere safely due to segregation. So Mr. Green decided to compile a book of places that blacks could go to that were safe and people who would welcome them to their establishments. He created his first green book in 1936, and it was such a huge success that he continued publishing it for years until the U.S. Congress said that racial inequality was against the law, and instead blacks should be welcomed everywhere. This is a fascinating book because I did not know much about the man who had created the Green Book, though I was familiar that blacks used it a lot when they were traveling, especially down south. The author mentions that actually today in the 21st century, people are recreating the Green Book, and that's due to lots of black people, unfortunately, once again not feeling safe traveling and wanting to know where are places that will be welcoming to them. The final book I'm going to share with you today is called Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. She is a popular children's author today, having written fiction, poetry, and also books for young adults. This is about her childhood growing up in the 1960s and the 1970s. The book is written in free verse, which is a form of poetry, and it's very fascinating because she grew up between South Carolina in the summer and the rest of the year up in New York City, specifically Brooklyn. And even during that time, even though segregation was officially over, change was very hard in South Carolina, with African Americans not being comfortable taking advantage of the new freedom that they had. And she was actually even viewed differently by her family and cousins down south compared to her friends up in the north. She writes very well, and if you're one who's not big on reading, because it's sort of poetry and not as much in dense text, I think you'll really enjoy this. I'm going to conclude by sharing with you about an author named Carol Boston Weatherford. She has written many books for children, nonfiction, biographies, and poetry, and many of her books have been award-winning, and we have several books by her here in our collection. Thank you for sharing with me our nonfiction children's books today. I'll see you next time when we will highlight fiction books for children and tweens. Thank you.